think you're going to get the hook or the music's going to start playing.
Were there any wrap-up signs? Because you guys went long. So.
41 minutes, and we could have went longer, and they would have never wrapped us up, I don't think.
Wow.
Of course, who would wrap us up?
Sure.
I don't know anybody that would go like this to us.
Not in Texas.
No, not here either.
Right.
Well, you could do it if you wanted to. That would be okay. You can go like that to me if you want to.
Okay.
Nobody else could do it because
Right, exactly.
I got your wrap up.
Exactly.
Did any days, and I'm not a big fan of hardly nobody, but I like those guys.
So you were okay with the decision of them
Oh, absolutely.
doing the introduction?
Yeah.
Was Michael okay with that as well?
Yeah. Yeah, they did a wonderful job too.
Yeah.
They do good work.
Right. So
Because I love Kevin,
Sure.
don't misunderstand me, but you never know what Kevin's going to do or what he's going to say.
right.
Hence the, what do you call it, the gay day?
New gay.
New gays.
Yeah.
New
Sure.
gay.
Did David command the respect of his younger brothers? Did they look up to him, sort of like a father figure?
Dave was kind of the commander of that. And I don't know where they fall age-wise. Was he the oldest? Do you know?
I believe he was the oldest.
Well, that would make sense then, because
Right.
he filled those shoes well, and that would make sense too, because David really is the only one that ever traveled outside of Texas.
Right.
Really, Kevin was a good worker too.
Right.
But he was really intense, and it was just like he was like a 220 volt plugged into a 120 lamp or something, or 110, whatever that thing is. But then again, you want me to tell you that Carrie was out. Carrie would like to have a good time.
Sure. Well, I mean.
And David would too, And
Right.
if we went in the ring and had a match now, they would boring would be all you would hear, and they might even walk out, because you can't go in and get a headlock and go into a top wrist lock and
Isn't that a shame? Though?
milk it like you used to. I wrestled Buddy Rogers in West Palm Beach, the legendary, the one and only, the natural, right?
Right.
And we worked a headlock to a top wrist lock for 20 minutes, and the place was going nuts.
Right.
Back then, those days, the heel called the matches, and when I'd call something, he was there. When we talked, he would listen, and if he wanted to say something, to put something in, he was welcome to do that. It would go or it wouldn't go. It all depend. But he was just a good talent.
Right.
He answered the call. The call went out, and he answered it. He did a really, really, really good job. And that was because I thought we should be getting more money.
Right.
And so did everybody else. And everybody else is, yeah. You're right. Let's do that.
Right.
Let's do that. So I launched out and did it. But I was standing alone, and everybody else was hiding in a hole,
Wow.
Or whistling, looking the other direction.
Right.
I guess
it's trouble you've had with bookers, like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, guys like that. I'm not.
No.
There's no.
You're all right.
So.
I always have trouble with bookers anyway.
Right. Well, let's start with Ric Flair. Talk a little bit about Ric Flair. Does it surprise you that he's still on TV now, currently in an angle like in 2016? Does that surprise you at all?
It does surprise me, but it don't surprise me. It surprises me that he is, and God bless him. It don't surprise me, because if I was a promoter and Rick came up to me and and I knew, he probably obviously needs the limelight or the
right,
the attention. I'd probably just out of sympathy let him have a little spot doing something,
right,
just so he wouldn't, disintegrate in front of me. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works. I mean, Rick is Rick, and I think if Rick, if he lives to 100 years old, which I hope he does, is still going to be fixing his hair as long as he has it, and then he might get something to replace it. I don't know, but Rick's just, that's his life. Christmas and Thanksgiving, you sometimes did 2 shows, an afternoon and a night, and missed a lot of birthdays. How much money is that worth? There's not enough money around. So it did consume me. Dusty was very creative. They have that certain, they just have that certain mind, you know. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Why do you felt you always clashed with those two?
Because I probably did something I wasn't supposed to do when they wanted me to do it, or the way they wanted me to do it, or they knew too that I didn't care.
Right.
I wasn't one of the sheep, and I think it was more them knowing that than anything I really actually did.
Sure.
I think it was the fact that they knew that I wasn't. They knew that I knew what they were doing.
Right.
Because I see.
When a fan hears the name Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, what do you want them to think?
I worked just a hard worker at times, because sometimes I wasn't.
Sure.
But the fact is, outlaw or not, matches that Wahoo McDaniel and I had were incredible.
Strap match?
Yeah, any kind. Strap match, anything, straight match,
What was that
strap
like?
match. Hurt a lot. You know, great worker, great man, great person, great. I realized the run was over because, you know, I should have took the strap from Martel. That was where the money was at.
Was there conversations of that happening?
Well, and Michael and I had that discussion actually when we were in Dallas, just briefly. I don't know how it came up, but we talked about Gino, and I think somebody else, we were talking with somebody else, and they said something about his overdose, and Michael said, look, you know, if anybody knew, you know, how to do it, he did. But again, you get the wrong stuff, and I don't know, you know. I don't really know, because if he did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it, and if he didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to do it, and that was admirable to some of us,
Right.
To me especially.
Sure.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That was a bad thing, and what was worse is nothing ever happened out of it, and we know for a fact that was a murder.
Sure.
That's the bizarre part of it. Isn't that interesting? I mean, the rest of it we could speculate. We know Brody was murdered, and we know who killed him.
Right.
And Puerto Rico is part of the United States, you know? In fact, I remember seeing Vince in a hallway, and I didn't care if Vince walked by or not, you know? I was sitting down. I don't even think I said anything to him. Whereas, looking back on it, I maybe could have at least stood up and said, hey,
Sure.
you know, my name's Jimmy Garvin. I'm really looking forward to, you know, businessman, kind of do
Right.
the gaga bullshit
Yes,
thing,
yes.
you know. I didn't say nothing. I was in Texas, and they wanted, WWE got a hold of me through their people, to go to WWE, and I was leery because of what I had seen happen to the NWA guys that had went up there. So I had a decision, WWE, AWA. WWE, I knew I had a feeling how Vince felt against the Southern guys,
Right.
or the NWA guys, and I might be way off. It just appears that way.
Sure.
So I chose not to go there. Elizabeth and Randy were created right after that. The lifestyle, the hair, the clothes, the thought, the process. You know, nobody called me Jim Williams for 23 years.
Right.
In fact, the character was overcome. It took me over. So, I mean, I kind of had found myself again.
Did the character of Gorgeous
Gorgeous
Jimmy Garvin
Jimmy
crossed
Garvin.
over into your regular personality?
Yeah. I kind of lived it.
Sure.
Not all the time. Either way, you know, I jumped on it because Michael was such a good friend of mine. Going back, like I said, in Dallas, at Tommy Rich's birthday party when we first met, and the way he thought, and being a free bird, you know, and what a free bird is, and what is a free bird. Free bird is pretty much what it says, you know, that nothing really does really matter, you know. Nothing really does matter. Just have a good time. And I had that spirit before I was official Freebird.
Right.
So, and I said it in Dallas, I was a Freebird long before anybody ever knew it. And Michael knew it. And that one of the reasons why he probably called me, you know.